Joystick Show.
Welcome back to the Joystick Show, and if this is your first time, thank you for joining. We're your three favorite friends from Hawaii here to talk story about comic news, pop culture, and video games. I'm your co-host Drake. That's Thomas.
What up, what up?
That's Scott.
How's it?
And why don't we just let
Scott
you sit
just
back.
did the Talokan hand Kamehameha.
Oh, the Comic-Con hand Kamehameha.
Yup,
Oh,
bro.
way.
Me, yeah.
To the listeners.
Oh, good lord. Well, speaking of, we've got some things that we definitely want to talk about, but we want to get into the Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So, huge review. All of you got to watch it over the course of the weekend, correct?
Hopefully.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Me, yeah, definitely. I saw it on Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
like,
Wow. Opening
Yeah,
day.
I was ready. Man, I've been ready for this. Like, I was most hyped for it, and I feel like it delivered.
Nice.
Spoiler alert.
Nice. Spoiler.
Now they don't have to
alert.
listen to the rest of this episode on like what I think about it.
Yeah. Well, you can step out now. We got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sitting in a theater, dark room, you're getting to kind of see all of the same, theatrical trailers that we've been seeing. But the title sequence, just starting off, silence, starting with that prayer. How did you guys feel about how Black Panther began?
Whew. Man, like, literally, I don't know how else to describe it, but just chills. It was so damn silent in my theater. Like, literally, like, nobody was saying anything. There was no popcorn crunching. There was no, like, people tapping on the ground or shouting, nothing. It was, like, pin drop silent. It was crazy.
Yeah, same. Because of the trailers we had some good trailers. So I'm eating popcorn, mochi crunch in Hawaii, it's popular, and it's crunchy. And
Mochi
as soon as
boy.
it starts and it's just like quiet, I'm like, pausing. There's like food in my mouth. I'm not chewing. I'm like waiting.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like just appropriate. It was a super appropriate way to start the movie too. Like,
You were like a brand new baby.
Yeah.
yeah, just at all. Like, my teeth didn't work. I just was gumming it.
Gumming it.
But yeah, like, that moment of silence. Like, it was no better way to start this film and, to set the tone for the rest of the movie,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. What about you, Drake?
It's very much like poetry in the sense of like white space. So when you're doing poetry, you're utilizing the page in itself, creating breaks in the quote unquote the white space. So your words are filling that up, right? So
Every time you say white space, I want to be like, this is Black Panther, man.
yeah,
It should
yeah,
be
yeah,
about
yeah.
the black
Yeah,
space.
yeah,
Come on,
yeah,
man.
black space. So the way that it was done in the movie with the silence, like sometimes silence can do a lot more, because I know people in general kind of like to fill voids with words or whatever. But you two are both very much on the nose, like setting the tone real early. That Wakanda Forever is for me like kind of like that. Almost like that memoir, right? That reservation of what are we here to do? We're here to honor Chadwick Boseman at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? And they did a really great job of doing that. And then I think from there it goes right into T'Challa's passing. I think Shuri is kind of panicked, right? It breaks that
Right.
silence with Shuri in the
Yeah.
her scientific room.
Right. We go from the prayer, right, where she's like, I want to, like, I'll do anything. And she's praying to Boss, which is cool because it's like, wow, tying it all back into, like, in a weird way, Phase 4 really has been about, like, the gods in Marvel, right? And we see something that looks, or, like, someone that looks like Bast in Thor Love and Thunder. And, Shuri's whole thing, I feel like, with this movie was this contradictory thinking in that I'm a technology person. I believe in science. I only believe in science, which makes me think of like Nacho Libre, but it's that contradictory thinking of science compared to religion, but it just shows the amount of desperation, that she's dealing with, because she's like, I don't know what else to do. Like, am I going to be too late to save my brother? I got to pray, and so she's praying to Boss. And yeah, that scene where you're kind of following her around, and she's trying to manipulate the DNA to synthesize the herb, and you could see like the amount of panic on her. I mean, it was just like, from the silence to that tense scene, man, it was hard not to just be a little, for me, not to be a little stressed out. I'm like, oh my god, holy shit, what, I know obviously Chadwick's not going to be in this movie, and everything that he had to go through to not be here for this moment, and yet there's still a part of me that was like, is she gonna do it? Is she gonna figure it out? Is there still a chance? It's just really good filmmaking and writing for me, so I just, that scene was, that was crazy. Definitely chills all around.
Powerful scene. Definitely kind of like that, the building, right, the silence into this huge kind of like chaos climactic situation where we kind of already know the outcome, but it's building in the scene, and then all of a sudden it kind of plateaus, and then you kind of feel everything climax at that moment, at that plateau, and then it just emotionally takes you on that roller coaster down, right, where everybody's kind of feeling everything. Right after Shuri asks her AI about Black Panther T'Challa's heart rate.
Right.
Right, and I don't think there's any music going on either, right? So it's just like sounds of computer, her panicking, and it that adds that extra layer of like you being in the room, like witnessing it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. And also the camera's following her the whole time. So it's like you do feel like you're right there with her, and and little fun fact, I didn't even know this. Did you know the AI that she creates is voiced by Trevor Noah?
Oh, where?
I did not know that.
I was
just
like, this
loading up the show with Africans.
I know, which is great. And I love Trevor Noah. I love Trevor Noah. And I literally turned to Christina at one point in the movie. I'm like, is that Trevor Noah? And she's like, I don't know. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay, forget it. Never mind. But I was like so stoked about that.
That's cool. I didn't think about that. That's cool.
Yeah. But when, what does she say? Because she asked the AI, like, what's my brother's heart rate, right? And does he say like there's no heart rate? I forgot what the wording is.
I think that's when the mom comes in.
Yeah, then Queen Ramonda walks in after that.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett. Ooh.
She
brought it in this movie. She brought it in this movie. I doubt that a Marvel comic book movie could win an Oscar, but if I could like nominate someone to win an Oscar, it would be her. She fucking crushed it in this movie. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I think she comes in and she's like, your brother is not, he's with the ancestors now. And I was like, oh fuck. It just, it sucks the air out of the room, because it's the dead silence of the title sequence. Then it's this action, high intensity scene of following her around, trying to do everything she can in her power to save him from death. And then the mom, coming in and just saying, hey, he's not with us anymore, and then you're just like it's just like this roller coaster literally, and it just now you're in this like lull for a little bit, and then we get into like the celebration, right, where we get them walking through the streets of Wakanda.
Which I have to say, like right away, like the soundtrack in this movie was so good.
Agree.
As soon as like every time they kicked off, like I know we'll go into it later, but like this, when you see Talokan for the first time, like they were so spot on with like the music making you feel exactly how they want you to feel when seeing what they're showing you. Like so good.
They did really good with like that theatrical stuff, right? The blocking, the lighting, the music in that sense to really elevate the mood, which I don't think you could say the same thing about a lot of other Marvel movies, especially in this one.
This year.
Yeah, this year. The tone it carries with the amount of...
Ever.
I was like,
ever.
Whoa.
This is the only Marvel movie that does it.
Fisticuffs.
But like when you think about, and I think you guys are nailing it too, because it's not just... Like obviously Rihanna's a part of this album, and they had all these like indigenous African musicians make the music, which is beautiful and it's powerful, all that stuff, and also like a lot of like Latinx or like whatever Mesoamericans, if you want to use whatever the terminology is, they used them as influence for those music. But the score too, it just felt like the drums. Every time you felt the drum, and then the slow motion of the dancers and the drum and the choreography. And it's like, it brings you so much into focus of like on the characters that we're following, right? So Shuri, Queen Ramonda, Okoye, like you see the emotion that they're having to go through to have this. It's a funeral, but at the same time, it's a celebration. People are wearing white. You know, it's not the typical black that, you know, that we may see going to a funeral, but it's a celebration of life, truthfully, you know, and we get to be a part of that, but it doesn't take anything away. Like, it celebrates Chadwick, his life, and also T'Challa, but at the same time, it doesn't take anything away from the characters who are struggling with the pain and the grief of his passing. Yeah. You know, so like it just
good balance.
It's just such a good balance, man. Hey, Ryan Coogler, oh my god, the opening 10 minutes of this movie was like I'm in. Like I don't care what happens for the rest of the movie. I love this movie because they just crushed it on that intro right there. It was so good.
May I make a comment about? I thought the coffin was gonna be more ornate.
Right.
It was just straight up like black ebony. Like wood, and then just the silver face and the hands, and I thought it was gonna be a little bit more decorative, but not to take away from the scene.
I could also see him saying
like how.
I could also see him saying before he dies like he wants it simple or something. Well, I could see him
just Wakanda as a whole has such like diverse cultural aspects, right, where it comes down to like their garb or how their architecture is and like how they've incorporated vibranium. So to have such a simplistic I guess coffin seemed different.
Well, the simplicity wasn't a problem for me. Like the simplicity was kind of regal and it's kind of kingly because the Black Panther is not flashy. I mean, even in the first movie when Shuri is making the suit and he has the one with gold and he's like, not that one, it's too flashy, right? And that's the one Killmonger ends up putting on. But I think the thing was it kind of, just the symbol on the front, like just that metal plating looked a little cheap. It was like not what I was expecting. I thought it would look a little bit classier. Like to me, it kind of gave me like Han Solo in the Carbonite vibes, where I'm like, oh,
that's
what? Like this is
true.
like
It seems
Boba Fett was here.
Generic.
yeah, look a little generic. But
like
I mean,
that was the first pass through on the design. Yeah, we'll do that. And it's like,
right, yeah. So I think that was the only issue I had. Like the simplicity of it made a ton of sense for me. It was just like not the styling, not the styling. What am I? The quality of it just didn't look like it was quite there.
Yeah. I definitely thought the cutting from when Shuri and Queen Ramonda find out, and then they kind of zoom and they pan into this huge celebration, and I think right after that they like it goes straight into Queen Ramonda walking into the courtroom. No.
No, yeah, you're right. Right into that UN.
Yeah, it was very.
Meeting.
It's like very scene block. This is a new scene. Not a huge deal. I understand what they were trying to do there. And then as it moved forward, it kind of felt like it was trying to catch us up real quick, and then begin the movie from there.
Yeah, for sure. And like I'll say, man, what a hard job Ryan Coogler had, and like the whole cast had to honor Chadwick, give him his due. But last thing I want to say, this is kind of going way farther back, but I think it was kind of also courageous in a way that T'Challa dies from what seems like a similar disease as Chadwick. You know, they don't really give much explanation, like, hey, he died from this disease. And it was like, okay, cool, you know? And I don't know. I just thought that was a really cool, bold choice. Yeah. I thought they did that really well.
Even in the same way that he knew he was sick and he didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
They honored Chadwick and T'Challa, same.
Yeah. I mean, he was a king as he was a person, you know, in real life. I thought that was just so chef's kiss. Like, it was beautiful. But yeah, we get brought to the UN meeting, and it's like America and France, and they're already like talking shit about Wakanda, and it kind of catches us up to, okay, this is what's been going on since since Black Panther 1, right? Because Black Panther 1 ends with Chadwick going to a similar UN meeting and saying, hey, what we've done too long is we've closed our borders off to the rest of the world, and we have a lot to share with you guys. Not saying they're going to share vibranium, but we have technology, we have ideas, we have, knowledge that you guys don't have, and we're here. We're opening up, the outreach to you guys. Yeah. And it comes right into Queen Ramonda saying, not only, I know what you all are saying about us, right? I know what you all are saying about Wakanda and that we don't have a protector, but don't think for a second that we're weak. Don't think for a second that we can't protect ourselves.
Yeah. So badass.
Yeah.
So badass.
Oh my God. And that speech, holy shit.
Yeah. The way they walk in, all those army people as well too, just like the way they set them up too, like they're so advanced in the fact that they're aware of not only what other nations are being talked about, but they're aware in a spy situation, like intelligence wise. So on all fronts of where all other nations think they could take advantage of Wakanda has that covered. And Queen Ramonda's guards, the Dora Milaje, walk them in. And it's like, yo, you're trying to do this stupid shit? Like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I love how, like, it starts off with her just addressing them in a very, in a very, I don't know. Yeah. In just
political
a very,
way. Political.
Yeah.
Way.
Yeah, exactly. Political, but also, like, royal way. Like, something you would hear, royalty speak about their country. But then it's intercut with seeing this French military unit try to break into one of their outreach centers to hopefully steal vibranium, right? Yeah. And then we, while it's intercut with this speech, we see what's really going down and how these political fronts, these UN senators or whatever they are, talking about how they're going to politically address Wakanda. But you see behind the scenes that they're attacking their outreach centers to try to steal from them. Yeah. So, and that the whole time while she started the speech, she already knew that they were going in and trying to steal vibranium. Yeah. And then you get the Dora Milaje coming in, but that whole fight scene, just like, oh, we're back. Dude, they got the spears, they got the new technology. I know,
with the daggers and stuff. So.
Yeah.
That was cool.
The part where he uses I forgot what that Dora Milaje lady's name is, but he uses her to open up the gate, and out steps Okoye and some of the other Dora Milaje. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, it's on.
That was so sick. Yeah, dude. Okoye is so fucking. When I see Okoye, I just think, man, she's gonna fuck somebody up right now, dude.
I know. She's so intimidating and so believable that she's a badass.
Exactly.
She's so good.
It's also too, and this kind of sets the precedent for the again with the tone of the movie. The director obviously does such a great job, but also too, we're having, and we'll get into it, two of these sides, right? Wakandans, Africa, and then you have Talokans, who are Mesoamerican, and you can kind of understand these larger nations, America, France, they're always trying to take advantage of the resources and take advantage of the people that happen to be there because they think that they're more powerful. But this is one time where they can't do those things. So it's a very interesting contrast from what we see in the real world, versus what we're doing here in Black Panther. Is we're kind of flipping that script. So it's very beautiful to see all of that kind of come together.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, I think someone said it best. I'm not sure if this was from the Wakanda Forever podcast, but they're basically saying this is what Africa would have looked like if it was never colonized. So if we were left to our own vices with our own technology, with, all the freedom that we deserved, this is what we could have created. And so it's a perfect juxtaposition between real life and look what you kind of robbed us from, because it's like, maybe this is a bad analogy, but it's like pass interference. You get it at the spot of the ball because who's to say that you would have caught it or not? And obviously we're throwing in vibranium and powers and all that stuff to it too. Yeah. But who's to say what Africa would have been had it not been colonized and conquered by all these different countries and rulers and stuff. So, and I found out what the lady's name. Her name was Aneka, and it's Michaela Cole. She plays the one where Shuri gives her the two vibranium daggers. They were energy daggers, and she just slices through, slow motion cuts through the assault rifle, and all the BBs fall everywhere, the bullets fall. Oh man, it was so tight. But we're kind of introduced to her, and in the comics, we'll get into it, but she kind of is a part of that Midnight Angels group as well.
Okay. Midnight Angel. So when I think right after that we get onto the ship, right, and then what's her face? I just remember that she has a larger mouth than usual. Sorry.
Lake Bell.
Yes, Lake Bell.
Lake Bell.
Lake Bell also she plays one of the characters I believe on Harley Quinn.
Yeah, Poison Ivy.
So
she's also dating Chris Rock.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right.
At the time of this recording, her and Chris Rock are a thing.
Oh,
That's
she's getting that rock all up in that. Anyway, so
she's getting rocked.
she's getting rocked. And they fly onto the thing, and they're like, oh, vibranium, and then you can kind of tell like, oh, there's some sort of mission. It almost seems scientific, but once you see all the guns, you definitely know it's not. And then Lake Bell flies on, and then you can kind of see, oh, the vibranium situation, and then those two people in the scuba diving situations.
Which was interesting.
A lot of situations going on.
Because I was like, I thought like, wouldn't they just send down like robots or something?
Yeah,
like,
it
why
was
would they
weird
send
that they
down
sent
two
down
people?
people.
But then
Well,
you
it's
see
so
the
that they could
suit
get-
later, and you're like, that's why.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so
in that one
she could get that
instance.
I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. I was like, this is probably how they do it. I was like, they got to send down people. You're
It's
right. They
weird
would
that they
probably
send
send
down
out a
people, yeah.
robot, but
Like
Yeah.
that they could, like a drone that they could just control. Like,
Yeah.
why risk two people?
that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
purely for dramatic effect, because that
Yeah.
part where they dive down into the water and it's those two divers, and then they're looking around, and I was like, hell no, would I be in the water that deep in the pitch black,
Yeah,
in the
dude.
dark? I
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
getting so claustrophobic watching them already.
I
And
know.
then they're looking around the flashlight, and then it's like full like Jaws, Jurassic Park, like what's gonna get them, right? And then when she realizes that her like teammate or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call him, partner, isn't there anymore, and she turns around, and he's like, she's not there. I was like, oh hell no, pull her
Yeah,
ass
I
up,
know.
she's
I
dead.
was like, this is a horror movie.
Aquaman,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
oh,
all-
man,
yeah.
Oh, man.
And then it does, and then you see the people start walking off, right? And
Yeah.
it makes sense. Okay, there's a vibranium detecting machine, and you're like, okay, that's interesting, because and it like it looks super kind of old looking, right? It didn't look like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't look like it was something from 100 years ago, but it looks like something that could have been found 50 years ago
I
or created
think
50 years ago.
They slightly talk about it because of the person who made it use like scrap things in order to do it.
Right.
Right,
Um,
right.
But to your point though, like we're it's 2022. Like there's
Yeah.
things. You
Yeah.
know?
So it kind of it gives you that hunk of junk vibe, but then right people on the oil rig or whatever, I guess it's like a vibranium rig, start just literally walking off the side.
Which I
of
thought
the
was
rig.
so cool
'Cause of the
I
siren
like the
situation?
siren aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool.
They
That-
gave them
dude,
like mermaid powers without being mermaids.
Which I
Yeah.
thought. I mean, we'll get to it, but I kind of wish. I guess realistically, it'd be kind of annoying to hear all the time, maybe. But if this was like a real battle, they would use that constantly, right? Like,
Yeah.
why would you not siren people in the middle of battle or some shit? Because there's no way there's enough earplugs for everybody. You know, like they weren't all
Right.
busted
Everybody
out.
has
So like,
earplugs. in
there were times where
2022.
like they do it and then they're like, they'd stop and like, okay, we can only sing so long. Like, yeah, I thought it was so good. I'm like, dude, they're OP if they just do this. Like that
It's
is
true.
such a big advantage.
Yeah.
Which
It's true.
I was super about, but I was just like, man, I feel like they could have done it more and like really done some damage. But
Right.
I
loved it.
really liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, because and it was pretty eerie too. We were like, that's an OP
Yeah.
power, but it is kind of creepy.
And it sounded nice though. As it was like they were like
Yeah.
harmonizing and shit towards the end of
Yeah.
it. I'm like,
Of course, the
"Damn, this is, like,
musician
good
would
stuff."
notice that.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much just like
Like,
pentatonics.
I didn't know.
It
I
was
was
underwater
like,
pentatonics.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, we only got one band down here, but they can't die.
Yeah, it's those guys.
They're all in the choir. The
Like we
Tonkin
need you for
choir.
war again. Oh man.
Yeah. Did Namor actually didn't show himself, right? It's his two lieutenants, and then they essentially just
He did show
Right.
himself. Oh well, we got.
So,
to see,
so
sorry, with
we
the
eventually all the Tonkin warriors are climbing up the rig, and it's like World War Z style. They're just like climbing over things, and then like people are getting killed left and right, and you can tell Lake Bell and whoever's the leader of that rig, they're trying to get to the helicopter,
the helicopter.
right? And
Get
then
to
they're
the chopper.
Yeah, they get to the chopper moment, and they're shooting them down, and then they finally get into the chopper, and I think this is the moment where we get to see Atuma and we get to see Namora, Namor's
yeah.
lieutenant, cousin, rival, all the above, and then that's kind of where we see Namor for the first time, right? Because he flies up and grabs the end of the helicopter.
Yes, and he just like flicks it like it's nothing.
Which is really cool because then it lets you know, the viewer, how strong this motherfucker is. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this guy's like Superman. Like,
They
what the
power
fuck?
scaled him real good.
I saw there was a quote that Ryan Coogler said he's like as strong as Thor, but like when he's wet, he's as strong as the Hulk or something.
Oh,
That's like his. That was, I guess that's what he was working with when
super wet.
Namor. So I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, get me super wet so I can be super strong.
That was when
Hulk
the grip's
smash.
the strongest.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
man, like that makes sense. I mean, because we get to see it towards the end of the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's, man, damn, did they make him look strong? And that lets you know right off the jump, like he is super strong, because Captain America can barely hold the helicopter with like both of his arms while holding it against a platform, and he's in the air just swinging it, just spinning it in like the wash machine. So that part was, oh man, that was so
just
crazy.
Whips it to the ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought, and I was like, is she dead? And she is pretty much dead. Like she doesn't come back for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
she's
look at the
like-
cast, and her name is written as just her name.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
the
Bella's
actress
like
name.
Belle.
She had
Yep.
no character name in this movie.
Yeah. Chris Rock's girlfriend.
Yeah.
right.
But I found that portion interesting. The invitation or the introduction of Namor in that sense, and then after we kind of see that, doesn't it kind of cut back to Queen Ramonda and Shuri going down to the river? Is that how the sequence goes?
It's somewhere around there. Yeah, I think you're right. Right. So
yeah,
Water
she-
to
she-
water, right? Water to
She
water.
goes and sees her in the lab, and then she's like, "I want to have a chat with you."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Let's go
right.
Mom and daughter talk situation.
Yeah, I like.
And this is where we're introduced to. Oh, never mind. We heard him earlier.
Yeah.
This is when I noticed again the AI. Sorry.
Yeah, one of the parts that I thought was cool about it was when they were flying back from that UN meeting, Ramonda and Okoye says the same thing that she says to T'Challa at kind of like the beginning of Black Panther, which is like, okay, we're back, we're finally home, or a line something like that, right?
Yes,
so it's kind of
yes,
cool
yes.
they paralleled it there. But what's nice about that too, and it's also foreshadowing, is they fly up the river, right? And you get to see the force fields open up right over the river. I don't know,
Yeah.
like I was like, does it go into the water or is it just over it?
Over
That's
the
what I
water,
wondered
yeah.
too. Right.
Right, so-
especially since we see him.
I mean, but like submarines though, right? So it's got to like go under it too, right?
You think, but I
like
instantly was like,
submarines.
oh, well, that's how all the freaking telecons are getting in. Because if it doesn't go underneath that water, best believe they're going to fly right under, or like swim underneath that thing and get right in there.
They kind of show it later when they're talking about when they're flying to it, and Shuri's like, make sure that you put up the barriers under the thingamabob.
Oh,
But
she says that?
Yeah, when when they're gearing for the attack, and this kind of follows post Namor coming through. When he
Okay.
maybe it
introduces
only goes so
himself to
deep, or they
an
know like
adventure.
another tunnel or some sort. Like
Right. Well,
underwater
because
passage.
they eventually say like they had to swim like 100 meters or 150 meters to like get inside the city. Right.
Yeah.
But we know they can breathe underwater, so they could have been swimming for miles
He
or
doesn't
whatever,
dolphin
you
that
know?
shit. I mean,
Right,
if there's
exactly.
animals in the bish, like I assume they don't trap the animals, so there must be ways to get in if you're like a deep sea creature or a creature
Yeah.
like a water creature, right? Like
Right. We never get really, I don't feel like we ever really know how far they are away from the ocean. But I mean, again, these are people who can breathe
it's a huge
underwater.
delta.
So
Yeah.
so
they can, who knows what they can do? I mean, they
Yeah.
could, if we have ways of moving on land with cars and planes and all this stuff, I'm sure they have ways of moving underwater. And we get to see it, right? They jump on the killer whales. They jump
I know,
on.
so crazy.
That was
Humpbacks.
so
Blue
dope.
whales,
Humpback.
humpbacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
that was
what?
that was dope. All right, well, yeah, but let's kind of bring it back to
Shuri and Ramonda's talk.
right. So now we're brought back and we're getting to see what's happening with Shuri. And again, this is like a year later,
Yeah.
and we see that Shuri is like full into just her work. She's like, I've gotta, the way she's dealing with her grief is to kind of ignore all this pain. At least from my point of view, is that she's doing it by focusing on her work. She's gonna dive headfirst in this, and her mom's like, no, you need a break. It was a year today, your brother passed away, I know what you're trying to do. Let you and me, let's step away, let's have a conversation, let's talk. And then, reluctantly, Shuri decides to go with her. And it was cool because they pan over those elephants, and we never really see, you're right, like we don't get to see a lot of the wild animals, I feel like, in Black Panther 1 of like what animals that were in Wakanda other than the rhinos. That like David Kalula's tribe had those rhinos that were like massive and they had armor on them and they were badass. But we get to see these elephants. And something that I thought was interesting that I learned recently about elephants is they're a matriarch society. So they're led by the eldest women, by the women. So, right, we got 2 women leading Wakanda, going to talk to each other in this special place that Ramonda knows. And they just really got to just really be honest and have a deep conversation. And I really thought this conversation was just really amazing because it's showing how Shuri's really feeling about losing her brother, and it's like the first sign of emotion post, her finding out her brother has passed away. And damn, was that her way of looking at it too? Was it just really starting this whole, you kind of see the similarities between her and Killmonger. And I think this is where it starts. Yeah. What about, right? Because she says, hey, if I'm not focused on this work, like something will be unleashed and I'll burn the world down, which is exactly what Killmonger said in the first movie. Right. Well, yeah. How did you guys feel about that whole scene? And before Namor gets there, like, did anything? Right. Yeah. What did you guys think about it?
I thought it was a very, it was a very interesting bonding between mother and daughter. I mean, you've kind of got a sense that they were close, but they never really had to talk about something as serious in Black Panther 1. And so to kind of have them release some of these emotions, it definitely went deeper into like death and loss and how different people kind of manage those things. And you get to see a little bit more of the culture of Wakanda, where they burn the garb into which they wore to the funeral, and that's a releasing of that grieving process. And right when she chose not to do it, like, it automatically told us that she was not ready to stop grieving, that she was continuously grieving, i.e. Shuri. And I like the fact that it kind of parallels Killmonger, because Shuri in that sense, like, she's not her brother, right? She's she's his sister, but yet she's also her own person. So she's finding herself. And so how do you I guess, quote unquote, side and be like your brother when you're not, but at the same time, knowing that he passed away doing the things that he did, and Killmonger also passed away doing the things that he did, but what's going to make her feel better at the time? You can see her kind of think, what's going to make me feel better in that moment? And she wasn't ready to kind of let go of what she thought was the cause for T'Challa's death, which ultimately she does blame on herself. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then I do like to I caught it. I forgot about it and I was thinking about it, and I remember the mom saying, like, right before we get Namor, she's like, "Oh, I have to tell you something about T'Challa," and then the elephants get all stirred up and then he comes coming out. So that's probably when she was gonna tell her about the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
I didn't spoil now or get to it later.
Catch that.
Yeah. She's like, I have to tell you something about T'Challa, and it's like, that would have been, I guess, maybe had she heard it then, she would have been, I don't know, more mad, less mad. It would have been interesting to see how she would have responded as well.
That could have totally changed
the dynamic of the whole thing.
Yeah, and how she viewed things, for sure. Wow, that damn, I didn't even catch that. That's a crazy little tidbit. But yeah, so they're really having this serious moment. I think you're right. She probably was going to tell her there, and then out of the water comes Namor.
Yeah, he just pops up like a freaking otter.
yeah.
It's like, hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, totally. I mean, they just did it so well, and he kind of like literally floats out of the water.
Yeah.
And
with his little wings.
Yeah.
His little ankle wings.
I dig it.
Honestly, I thought they were gonna look dumb. They made them look so dope.
Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
Actually made it look really, like, he looked like his wings were like hummingbird wings.
Yeah.
So it made sense why he could move fast. Like, it was cool.
They were smart. I know we'll get to it later. I know we're saying that a lot, but the way they make him pivot in the air.
Yes, so great.
I was like, I'm glad they did it like that. like, because it made it seem like he was like able to like almost grip the air and push off it, and like, yeah, it made the wings look that much cooler. Yeah, like I'm like, oh man, it was so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
definitely
came up to Queen Ramonda and Shuri, and he was like, "Como esta, bitches?"
Hey, for real though. But yeah, then he goes into the whole, hey, somebody's making this machine. You know, was it you guys, or, you know, I need to find this person who made it. We both do.
Yeah.
And it's best for both of us.
Yeah.
And then we kill them because our whole lives revolve around our vibranium, and it protects us. It's part of us. You know, we need it to stay safe. And yeah, does he think it's her? Like, he thought it was them that made the machine, right?
Yes.
I think he did at first, but then I do like the way they portray him, like, because he has this manner about him, like, it's almost like kind of psychopathic, but it's like it kind of dictatory. It reminded me of like how like Black Adam is in the comics, kind of thing, like where he's like, he comes and he's like approaching them like, hey, like, this is a solution, it's kind of your fault too. Right, like, your brother's the reason why this is happening, so you need to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can come in and I have more soldiers than you have people here. So
I know. What a dick.
It's like real, like, do you know power? Because I got it. Like, I'm like, damn, this guy is so calm about the way he's talking about just like massacring.
Yeah. And the way they brought on the machine,
like him,
too.
You know? Yeah.
They brought the machine on without them even knowing. Like, they were so sneaky quiet. Like,
that was
what
cool
the
too.
fuck?
Which part? Wait, what are you talking about with the machine?
When they pan over, so he leaves, and then they pan over, and then the machine is right there.
He leaves the brace.
Right, he turns around.
He leaves just the conch shell, right?
The conch shell. He's like, "This is how you get a hold of me. I'll be back in a week."
Yeah.
And then they turn around. They're like, "God damn, that 1,500-pound machine that's like the size of an RV is right there." All
they
right,
just
cool.
sneakily like, "Hurry, no, over here." No, over here.
Yeah.
But what was funny is like, if I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but like, to the listeners who watch Rick and Morty, I couldn't help but think about it was like the beginning of, I think, last season. They started with like an Aquaman type of character who like had a conch shell, like, and if like there was a moment where they're like, get the conch shell, and like, but if you blew into it, he would get stronger. And like his whole dumb thing was like, he controls the police. So as soon as I saw him with that conch shell, I'm like, he controls the police. Like, it was just, it's dumb. And Rick and Morty, like, he can basically just call the police over and like have them do whatever he wants and arrest you, and they're like, he just controls them.
Man,
like,
if Jessica Gao was in charge of this, that's probably what would have happened if they blew that conch shell.
They would have been apart. Yeah, it wouldn't have been the sirens. It would have been Namor controlling the guards.
Yeah, exactly.
Controls the police. Yeah.
Which I'm so happy it wasn't that.
Even more so, like those the Talokans are so strong that they could just pull that there. I wonder how much people it took to bring it back into Shuri's thing.
Four people.
4 people? Oh, okay.
Just for balance.
Yeah.
But they got tractor beams, so maybe
that's true.
They
got tractor beams. And then they took it all apart, right? And they found out who that person was, and then it cuts to college.
No. So what happens is Shuri reaches out to Everett Ross, right?
Oh, yes.
Right? And then so Okoye and Shuri, Okoye convinces Ramonda to take Shuri with her.
Yes.
To go talk to Everett Ross, right? And he's able to tell them, like, they find him. You know, she sends like that little bug out of the Okoye Okoye beads, I think they're called. But like they bring him over. We're brought back into Everett Ross, which I thought was awesome because he was a big part of Black Panther 1.
The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in those. Yeah, he's in those too. But he brought a connection between Wakanda and the U.S.
Yes.
So this is now bringing Wakanda back into a tie with the U.S., bringing back in those U.S.-based characters, right? So we get Everett Ross. He's on the jog. They're able to figure out that some kid at MIT was able to make it out of spare parts and all, yada, yada, right? And then they go to, I believe it's in Massachusetts. I'm not sure where Cambridge is.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about places I could never go. So, but yeah, so we're introduced to Riri Williams, and right out the gate too, you can tell how smart she is because she's basically like shaking down this guy, like, hey, what did you get on that grade? I built you this. Like, you need to pay me. It's this. It was this amount of money yesterday. It's this much now. And so he ends up, making the deal go down. And just right out of the gate, she's cool as hell. Like, she's
not a pushover.
Not a pushover, exactly. Yeah. She's doing like the homework for a bunch of other kids who are smart enough to get into MIT, and like she's doing it for them, like their homework. And from there, we go into her room, right? And we know Okoye and Shuri. Like, Shuri's like, give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna go chat with her.
Yeah. She's like, I'm younger. It's gonna be easier for me to communicate with her. And Okoye's like, give me 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then the little banter about the makeup on her.
Oh
hair.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's where the whole ashy head comes in, right?
Yeah. But before that, before we jump to Everett Ross, there was that we got M'Baku again. Like, this is like his first scene back in the movie. And dude, like, that guy's so good, that actor.
Winston Duke.
When he tells when he's like, you bald-headed demon.
Yeah.
And then when that guy's like, you need to watch your tongue, and he backs up, he's like, ooh, and all these guys
ooh.
I was like, that's like the equivalent of like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I was like, dude, these guys are so cool.
Dude, the Jabars are so fucking cool.
Yeah.
M'Baku's the best, man.
But I love that he walked in chomping on the carrot. Like, literally, from the first movie, he was like, I'll feed you to my children. But then he's like, just joking, we're all vegetarians. It's like, now, he comes in with the carrot. Like, just the continuity, man, from the first movie to this one, they kept it going. Yeah, Winston Duke. And a funny thing about you bring up that line about you bald-headed demon, he improvised that line. And they
cool. That's a nice line.
That's
funny.
Yeah, he came up with that on the spot, just like riffing, and they were like, "That's perfect," and Ryan kept it in. So
that's cool.
Great.
Yeah, the way he delivered it and everything was just so fun.
He's my favorite part of the movie, to be honest. I know there's other things to be great about it, but I love when he's in the scenes, man. He's great.
Yeah, every scene he was in was definitely elevated for sure. But yeah,
to jump back over to they're in her room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're trying to convince her, and she's like, "Oh, let me use the bathroom real quick," and then runs into Okoye, and then she starts throwing stuff at Okoye.
I know, so stupid.
I'm like, she must not know who Okoye is, because like,
right?
What are you doing?
Yeah, and and then Okoye is breaking it with her spear, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, she got a spear! She brought a spear into a school."
I mean, from the jump, like, Riri is so funny.
Yes.
Like, all of her comments and everything were you're like, 100% you'd react like that. Yeah. If someone just showed up in your room, somebody had a spear, somebody was like, you need to come to Wakanda with us. It's like, because it was like a John Connor situation, like, come with me if you want to live situation. And like, I would react almost the exact same way.
They did a really good job, which not all the time do they do this, is earn and show Riri as the character. She definitely earns the quote-unquote Ironheart situation, whereas sometimes we see other characters and they're just telling us that they're all these things, but Riri had showed it from her first interaction into how she's reacting now, and you can see and observe where she's at. Like, she's an intelligent person. No way she's just gonna go with these two random people, even though she knows they're from Wakanda, etc., etc. So I'm glad they had everybody in the movie earn the things that they've done. It really brings more care for the character, etc., etc.
Absolutely, yeah, and it makes everything they do when they're in action, it feels earned, and it feels like that could legit happen because they've proved it in other ways.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because then from there we go to her like secret warehouse. And she's got all of, the CAD drawings and the 3D drawings of the suit. And it looks like she's made her own arc reactor.
Oh, yeah.
And
so crazy.
She's working on some kind of, like, quadratic equation that, like, nobody can figure out. She's like, I do that in my spare time. It's like...
also, I think back in the room, I don't know if you just said it, but she, they asked her about the machine. And she's like, oh, I built that for MIT. Like, so she didn't know that they took it and used it.
The CIA took it.
Right. The CIA. And she was like, and I only did it because he said I couldn't do it. So, like, she has this, like, spite in her, or, like, this just
like
fighting
a chip
spirit
on her shoulder.
Yeah.
So, like, when they jump to, like, the warehouse, like you're saying, and you see all that stuff, like the Iron Man stuff, it's so believable that she basically did what Tony Stark did, is built a suit in a cave kind of thing, but like a modern version. Like, she's doing it all herself, which is really cool. And like Drake was saying too, like, way more believable because we're seeing all that, like the way she carries herself and everything. So
Yeah,
very cool.
That girl. It's not. I think her name's Dominique Thorne in real life, but man, she killed it too. But yeah, from there we get like the police are hunting her down, and we get to see Shuri put on one of those Okoye beads on the car, and I instantly was like, oh, dope. Like, is it gonna be remote controlled? But I'm like, why is she gonna drive in it and it be remote controlled? But she doesn't. She jumps on the bike. Okoye jumps in the car, like the old school Mustang, and then Riri puts on what looks like her Mark I armor. And you're like, all right, like, how's this gonna go down? And that scene,
which looked cool.
looked dope.
Suit,
oh my
that
god,
suit, that Mark I suit looked sick.
And
it
she
looked
even
so exoskeleton and just like super cool. Yeah, sorry, Drake. What were you gonna say?
no, that the comment before she took off, or before she put on the suit, before the police started coming, she was like, "Oh yeah, there's a whole website dedicated to sights of me." So there's already that believability that she knows how to do the thing, right?
Right. Yeah, and she's been doing it. It's like kind of a callback to Spider-Man. You know, when like Tony Stark goes to see Spider-Man in his home and recruit him for Civil War, he's showing him all these videos. He's like, what do they call you? Like Spider Boy, Spider something? He's like, Spider-Man. You know, it's like there's so many little references he pulled from so many other movies to legitimize characters and their stories in this movie. And that was like one of those scenes. But so, yeah, Drake, that's a great point.
And then they fly off. The chase scene, I feel like you have to have a great chase scene in the movie. And they take care of business really, really quickly. I loved the way that Okoye used her spear when she got control of the vehicle. After pleading with Shuri's AI, she uses a spear, and then she reverses to make that other car flip. Like, the way...
That's so cool.
Yeah, the creativeness that she uses that spear is just next level.
Yeah, like, you don't want to ever be in some type of car chase or situation with Okoye and her spear.
Yeah, dude.
Like, even in movie number 1, right, sure, she throws the spear in front of that car and it explodes it.
I know. Sorry.
And then, and then she flies over and, like, catches it. Like, if she's anywhere near her spear and you're in a car chase or whatever, you're done.
Yeah.
Just pull over.
Just give up, because it's over.
I pulled over. I can't pull over anymore.
Though, you know, when they jump, like, I was a little disappointed in Shuri's choice to be like, I'm gonna jump on the bike. I'm like, why? Like,
so she
I've
could
never
do the cool bike stuff.
But yeah, like for a movie aspect, you're like cool. But like in a realistic, that took me a little bit out of it because I'm like, do you do this sort of thing? Like, I've never seen you ride a bike and do cool tricks on it. Like,
but it also, for me, like, I hear what you're saying, but also for me, it was like, whoa, like, Shuri has some skills. Like, I couldn't do that. I can't just jump on a dirt bike and rip it all over the city. So it
that's
true.
Showed maybe that was the opportunity to show us that she can do stuff other than be smart and. Okay, that's
like, it showed me how athletic she was too.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely swag to it too, and she looked dope and all that. But it was like, she looked so athletic. Because if you know anything about motocross racers or dirt bikers, it's like, it's so fucking hard to do that, and especially in the middle of the street, going upstairs, jumping off of things,
improvising as well.
People can't
That's
do
why
that.
I was like, can she do this? I'm like, it took me out a little bit. But maybe the point was to show, like, she's super capable athletically, just like her brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's what the point
I would have.
was,
Well, I guess we kind of see a little bit of what she's capable of when they end up at the bridge where they're supposed to be, and then you have the.
Yes, like the three. It was like the shot of all three of them kind of busting through the fire or whatever. I was like, so dope, and instantly. The next thing happens, I think you're going to say, and I was just like, what? It just, again, all the wind just got taken out of my sail in like a split second.
Yes, the Talokan lieutenants like essentially come in and use that, what is that water bomb situation?
Yeah,
dude, the water bombs are nuts.
I know,
those were crazy.
Which, cool. Towards the end, we can talk a little bit more about the water bombs and how it made the ship thingamabob go. And there's actual things that you can do in your home to prove that how that works scientifically. But I
mean, shoot, anybody who's ever looked at, like, been to the beach in Hawaii and you look at the tide pools, it's like those don't have holes on it. They were solid sheets of rock. Yeah. But it just shows you how strong and destructive water can be when you use it in, like, with the right force, right? Like, it's a wave or I mean, like, think about a fire hose. You can just, like, destroy somebody with that.
Yeah.
So
and then
it's a
Okoye
creative
takes it
idea.
to the face eventually.
Yeah, Okoye does.
Is that how they all? That's how they all get exploded, like off the out of the car.
Yeah.
And Riri goes down. It's because of the water bombs, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the wire? Something like that. It was one of the
It was one of the two, but because there's a wire pulling Riri away in her Iron Man suit,
Right.
her Mark 1 suit. But I believe no, Shuri got knocked out. Okoye essentially had to battle everybody, but then I think Shuri woke up and did a little bit of movement. So I think she show a little bit of martial arts in that scene, if I recall correctly.
Possibly. I don't know.
I can't remember. Actually,
I can't remember.
Shuri's
Yeah, I just
remember Okoye fighting off 3 people and then Atuma. Yeah.
That Atuma fight scene was like the part where I think she throws her spear down and he either clotheslines her or throws her into his axe thing.
Yeah.
Just
because
and she relocates her shoulder.
Right. The whole crowd in the theater was like, ooh, because it looked hard.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, dude, Atuma's so badass. Like, for someone who lives underwater and like probably never comes on land, he can fight real good on land.
Yeah.
Like this guy's probably way badass in the water. Like to fight that good in a environment you're hardly ever there for. Like,
right.
I'm like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, Okoye takes on 3 or 4 of them at a time. They pop up off the killer whales, off the humpback whales, and just an awesome fight scene all around. The action through that whole sequence from them escaping the whatever you want to call it, like the the warehouse, to that fight where Okoye is then taken with Riri was so damn good.
Yeah,
and
we get to see a little bit more of what they look like up close to the Talokanians.
Right, and it makes sense that they have that water mask too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like we would need an oxygen mask to go in the water, and they would use a water mask to be. And I was like, that's so smart.
But what's cool about that mask is it seems like it did both, because they put it on Shuri after when he said breathe, and then I don't know if it knocked her out or what, or he's just like, you're gonna get oxygen this way now, and then they jump on the whale.
Right.
So it's cool. That mask does it all. It holds water and it can be used for oxygen, or like turning water into oxygen or something. That's
right.
Pretty sweet. The tech is pretty awesome.
That's true. That was some advanced tech.
So
yeah, we and instantly for me, I was like, oh, Okoye is like, she's fucked. I was like, she's gonna be in so much trouble because she convinced Ramonda to let Shuri go with her.
Yeah, and she totes my goats was.
Yeah. So we get to see, right? Okoye goes back and basically says, hey, Shuri's kidnapped. I'm sorry. And Ramonda just like lets her have it.
Answer her, man. She's like, as a mother and as a queen, you could feel her frustration and her power and her strength. And she's like, I've lost a son and I've lost my daughter. What more do I need to lose? And then Okoye's like, have I not given to, and blah blah blah. And she's like,
have I not given everything?
Yeah. And she's like, you can see your husband, or I guess is that her husband or her boyfriend or the.
Oh no, because the other person brings up, right, like they said like, oh, but she did like fight against her husband.
Yeah,
and
that's
she
right.
was like, yeah, but he's still around. Like you can basically
see him whenever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then Okoye's like, essentially doesn't want to be stripped of her title and blah blah blah, and then she accepts it. Just the close up on her face like was epic.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just see
she's
her
literally given everything. I mean, she stood by, Chadwick or like T'Challa the whole time, except for when she kind of turns on him, but then unturns on him like to back him up against her husband's tribe, right? And then, she was by his side when he walked out of the portals in Endgame. She was the last person to hold his hand before he disappeared in Infinity War. And so she's been literally like she was his right hand person the whole time, and you could just see how much it just feels like she's lost everything.
Yeah,
right. Because a warrior is what she is. Because she's like, let me die a warrior. Like let me go back, and like I'd rather go back and die and fail than you strip me of my title and just become like like this is my existence. Yeah. So that was a powerful scene.
Yeah,
super powerful. Absolutely. So that actress, shoot, I don't know if anybody has it in front of them right now, but she was, she's amazing.
Guerrero?
Guerrero. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
real
could do.
good.
Yeah, Denai Guerrero. Yeah, but she's amazing. That brings us to now where Ramonda goes to find, and it's like she goes to Haiti. I'm like, that's kind of an interesting choice, and we're finding like all these themes between Africa and France too, because I guess Haiti is like a French colony from what I understand, Haiti. Right? Yeah, Haiti, or I don't know how you say it. You said it way better than me. I don't even know why I tried. But we get to see Nakia. Ramonda goes there and says, "Hey, I need a war dog like you to go out and find Shuri." And she just does that. And what's crazy is I know her name is Lupita Nyong'o, I think is her last name. She's amazing because in this movie she speaks English, she speaks some dialect of African, she speaks Spanish, she speaks French, she speaks some type of Mayan. She speaks 5 languages in this movie. But so Lupita like is super fucking talented.
Yeah, she got angles too, dog. Angles.
Yeah, and she's a fantastic actress. I've seen her in something else, but she was also in that movie like the 360 or like the 65 or whatever, where it was like supposed to be like a women's team of spies. The movie was shit, but she was fantastic in it. But yeah, they, we kind of get to see her track them down, and we start learning more about a Kukulkan or Namor. Right. Yeah, nicely done. Damn, you get to say all the names from now on.
Sorry.
No, it's good. But you get to see more of her tracking and like her detective skills a little bit, and we get to also, while she's learning about where they might be, at the same time we're learning a little bit more about Namor and the culture and stuff, right?
Instead of like a trad montage situation, you're getting to actually see it in real time, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, we get both with him. I mean, that's how good his arc is too. And we haven't even really touched on Namor yet. So let's kind of like fast forward. Shuri and Riri are taken down into the cenote, I think it's called, right? Cenote. Damn it, I don't even know why I keep repeating myself. It sounds worse every time.
That one place
underneath the water, right? And they're there, and he goes to Shuri, and he says, "Hey, all right, well, this is who I am," and we get the flashback of his origin story, right?
Oh yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
which is
that
so
was
good.
Super interesting.
Right.
The fact that they. Oh, go ahead.
No. Please finish your statement, because I was just gonna go into like the historical aspect of it.
I was gonna do the same, like the aspect of where they're just a tribe and they're worshiping essentially a god, and
the Mayan gods.
The Mayan gods, and then you kind of see how the invaders come in. They're like, man, what should we do? Well, let's take this thing and we'll be able to do it. And the mom's kind of a little bit reluctant because she's pregnant.
But it wasn't like just the invaders. It's like the Spanish conquistadors. Spanish conquistadors, right?
Never say it.
Like the whole reason why
they brought like smallpox or something, right?
Yeah, brought smallpox. The whole reason why Spanish is Spanish in Mexico is because these people came in. Again, it's one. I just love the comparison, right? Like the colonizer in Africa and the colonizers in Mexico, right? And so we get the conquistadors, and they bring the smallpox, and so just like using these like historical, like these real historical events to embellish or like create this history, I don't know, it just was so well done.
No, definitely.
Right? And they get the smallpox. Yeah, sorry, someone else take it away.
No. They get the smallpox. They worship the god. They find this herb that's in the soil of vibranium, and then they all take it, and then they all die, and then come back blue, and then they go into the ocean. But the mom's a little reluctant. But
they started like suffocating, right?
Yeah, and then they had gills already, and then she was told that her son is going to be the firstborn of this, and he's going to be the king. And then he gets born, and then underwater baby moment. Which probably was like a fake baby, maybe, I presume. The way that they did all the underwater stuff was amazing, by the way.
Right.
And
that's
then,
where I'm trying to get, because I'm like, we got to talk about how cool Talokan was.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then the son grows up into like a I guess he's like 12, maybe 10 years old, and then he goes back, and then he sees.
Because he explains he ages. Slower and everything.
Slower.
I think he tells him then, right? He was like, I was born with wings on my feet. Ears pointed
to the sky.
Yeah. And he's like, I was born a mutant.
Oh,
that's
yes.
when like he
Yeah.
finally says like he's a mutant.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, dude, he's a strong fucking mutant, right? Like, it made me just kind of go off and like, I can't wait to see more mutants and them do all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. But yes, and then he goes to
the plantation, and then he sees the whipping, and then he's like, "This is crazy. I'm just trying to bury my mom." And then he essentially
he's
like
boys,
murder.
he starts floating.
Yeah.
I thought I kind of chuckled a little bit because it looked kind of like, oh.
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was crazy to me to think that this kid is this strong already
At
and
that
could,
age,
like,
yeah.
And that, I mean, well, like, who knows how old he was, I guess, but
yeah.
he looks like a 10-year-old maybe, right?
Yeah.
And he's just
but I think he's a
going
lot older.
and murdering
58.
everybody.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, how crazy would that have been for all these people to see, you know, these people emerge from the water blue-skinned and start murdering all them, and they're led by like a 10-year-old who can fly. Like, that would have been crazy. But this is the other thing, and this was a glass-shattering, jaw-dropping, like, holy crap, eyes wide open, like, just an amazing spin on the origin of Marvel for this character. You know, one of Marvel's oldest characters. And they go, you know, the pastor is lying there and he's bleeding out, right? And he says to him, he says in Spanish, he says, wait 1 second here. I wrote it down. He calls him El Niño Sin Amor, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Boy without
holy
love.
shit. He's
Or boy
like,
without a
yeah.
heart.
The child without love.
The child without love. Yeah. And I'm like, what a amazing creative spin on this name that has been in comics since the 40s, and to spin it in a way so that it has a Spanish origin. I thought was so fucking creative.
And
it's such
funny,
a great,
it's super,
inspired
like,
choice.
He's like, I go by Ikuku Khan.
Yeah.
He's like, but my enemies call me
Namor.
which means this. And then he was like, because I have no love for the surface world. So it's like he brings that. He's like, oh, good. Like,
Good,
yeah,
I'll
that
take
is
that.
me. To my enemies, I am Namor. I'm like, that's fucking cool. And like you're saying, like, what a cool way to make it like just as cool in a news telling.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yeah, this is. I hope this is the way it is going forward now. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I wasn't too familiar with the old Namor, but the way they did this
It was way
like,
less cool.
So bad. Yeah, it was probably way less cool. I like this better.
There's a fish guy from Atlantis.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we read that comic from like, you know, whatever it was, the '60s, and he was not this cool in it. But that whole origin story was so well done, right? And
So
he's painting the walls, and we get to see kind of the Mayan art in there. And he decides to bring Shuri down, you know, using one of the suits that we saw earlier on the rig, and he brings Shuri down into Talokan, and it's just
Cue
really
awesome
cool.
music.
Yeah, awesome
Oh,
music.
yeah,
They
dude.
use the jet streams.
So epic.
Oh, the EAC. I was like, right show, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sitting next to my friend there. I forget.
Right, it was totally like.
Yeah, I was like, I
what
was
is his name?
finding
Rush?
Nemo quotes
Yeah.
where
Rush from
flashed
Finding
through my
Nemo.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, but it felt like, it felt different because I don't think I would have made the comparison between him and Aquaman. Maybe a little bit. But I mean, I obviously have known that they were two different characters for a long time, you know, just through comics and stuff. But I loved the way they kind of portrayed Talokan in this world because it felt like there was no bottom or top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was truly like if you lived underwater, you might be over here, and you know, like the verticality of this world was so interesting.
Yeah.
And the way they moved around through this, like the way the air currents work underwater was so interesting too. I was like, wow, so creative.
Yeah,
Just thought
they-
that
Yeah,
was super tight.
So different than
Yeah.
Aquaman and them, right?
They, well,
Um,
Aquaman is more like that huge city under the sea, but they did a really good job at like blending Mesoamerican architecture styles with what it would be like underwater, with also like the free form of what they would have lived like on land. Whereas Wakanda is very
Yes.
similar with incorporating technology of vibranium, but also keeping that like rural pastoral type situation still really there. They did a really good job, I think, at blending culture and technology that we would see with, you know, more like a solar punk type situation where
Yeah,
they're
'cause he brought
incorporating
them the
everything.
He brought them the sun down there.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just opened up.
Also, what was also cool was like I was thinking about the differences between like Namor and his people versus like Atlanteans and stuff. Like, I think Aquaman like controls all sea creatures, I guess, with his like sonar thing, but it would make sense for like Namor and their people to talk to like the mammals, like ones that are of higher intelligence. So that's why they were always riding whales and stuff.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, so I was like, oh, okay, because I'm like, oh, there's like they're not riding any sharks, but I'm like, but sharks are probably kind of dumb. Like, you probably can't like reason with them. Like maybe because
all the shark fans have entered the chat.
Yeah, I know. Fuck.
They are not dumb. They have sharp teeth. You know, I don't know how that relates. But they there's talks of like how like certain like dolphins are incredibly intelligent, but we have no language to speak with them with, so it's hard to tell. But like them living underwater and them being as intelligent as they are, and whatnot, like, I don't see why not. They don't have like a language already built for them.
Right.
So that's
and
pretty
if they're
cool.
there in their environment, it's like we've been able to tame to some degree. Not, I guess to some degree, not really tame, but like elephants or like buffalo or whatever. Like we're able to coincide with them. Like, of course, they'd be able to coincide with these other water mammals.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it in the same montage where they were talking about? They talked about Maui and how he brought the islands to Hawaii, and they talked about other figures that essentially created those things. Was that in that same montage, or was that post?
Shoot, I don't remember that part at all.
I don't remember that actually. I think you dreamed that up.
Maybe I dreamed it up.
No, check it.
Yeah.
That could happen. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, it could have. That sounds possible, but I don't remember that happening particularly.
I think I'm thinking about something different.
Trying to think about Aquaman?
No,
I'm
it's
confused.
no. So Talokan is or what was the name that they call him?
A Kukulkan.
Kukulkan is the feathered serpent, and so there's I think it's an Ancient Aliens reference, feathered serpent. Because I was watching another thing, but essentially all quote unquote ancient civilizations have this quote unquote creation character within all of their narratives. So yeah, blah blah blah. Anywho's
Yeah.
So
what a cool greeting too they did.
Yeah.
I like that.
The
Kamehameha.
Yeah, the Kamehameha
the
shark. Yeah, and then
The
you
serpent
see
mouth,
him.
I guess.
Yeah, then you see him descend down into like the megalodon jaws, and you're like, oh,
that makes
like
sense.
that must have been like, it's like their greeting and salute, but also like that's the biggest predator underwater. Of course, they would kind of worship that.
Was that after Shuri and Riri
I think
get
that was
rescued?
after.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
I think that was after. So yeah, let's fast forward. Right, Nakia comes down. She figures out where they are. She goes in. She has like this really dope kind of jet ski submarine thing.
That thing was sick, yeah.
It was super fucking cool. I was like, damn,
It
they have
opened
like
and then closed around her. Like,
around her. I was like, holy shit, I would want to try that. But I was also like, I don't want to dive that deep. It scares me. So so she rescues them. She shoots that one Talokan lady, and that thus starts the whole Talokan versus Wakanda war.
Yeah.
Right, Shuri and Riri go back to Wakanda. And are they prepared? I'm like trying to wonder, like at this point, are they preparing for them to retaliate?
Yes, because remember when Shuri and Namor were having a conversation, Namor was like, if you don't, I will come and I'll take Wakanda
That's right.
and I'll wipe all your people off the planet.
Psychopath way of talking
so
calmly, and he's like, we can be friends or I'll destroy you.
And actually, this is the part where
on the surface world.
Shuri was talking about, we need to make sure we fortify the defenses around the water pathways. And then they fly those little dragonfly situations, and then they like shoot beams into the ground or the water.
Right. So, yeah, let's get into that because, everything seems cool in Wakanda, and, they know that there's some type of retaliation. It doesn't look like they're quite prepared yet. And then you see all of like the Talokan people jumping out of the water and just start massacring people.
Yeah. Just straight murking.
What was cool though too is like the water was slowly kind of coming in. Like
that's right. That's
and
what
they're
happens.
like, that's when Okoye was like, we're under attack, and like as soon as she said that, boom, like a water bomb went off and shit started going. Like they struck fast.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the highlights from it. Obviously, it was cool to see. Like, what's the dude was? Yeah, M'Baku was holding his own.
M'Baku thank God he had that vibranium thing on his chest or something. I thought he died.
Yeah.
He got punched so hard.
I mean, think about it. He could take a punch almost from the Hulk, or like from the Hulk. He's strong as fuck in this world.
Yeah, that's true. But man, it was funny. Like he has his wooden thing, and it was crazy how it just shatters on him, and he takes that punch, and then jump to later. he tries again on somebody, and it's a wooden. I'm like, someone get him a vibranium.
I know,
like,
yeah.
So on the ship later on, I think the ball part of it is vibranium because it's shiny.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I think he gets like a
But why is he still using wood though? You know what I mean? Like I get it, but like
that's why it was funny. Like when he got
Sticks to his
punched,
roots.
he had the wood over the vibranium because that part shattered.
Right, and that would make sense because it's
part of the look though.
Like I was always hoping they would answer that because even in Infinity War Endgame, like he was always wearing that wooden armor, and I was like, it's a cool part of his heritage. But there needs to be some type of vibranium reinforcement to it. So this was cool to see that they still are a part of that too. And maybe it's since everything they had bonded over the first Black Panther that maybe they had vibranium the whole time, but it was just cool that he was getting reinforced with that as well.
That's
and
a good point,
yeah, but then we get to see Namor really start using his flight and how nimble he was and
Holy
how
crap.
fast he was. He was so fast in the air making those cuts. I mean, he was like Saquon Barkley out there just and just bouncing
It's crazy.
around.
He like took out the wings. He's like boom, and then he flew under. Boom, took out the other wing, and like then he just flies under. Like he's just like manhandling these aircraft.
He was
Unreal.
like
Super
a
OP.
vibranium missile.
yeah.
He was just like seriously spearing everything. It was so cool. But then, he goes right up to the castle or like the main throne room and just like slams his spear right at Queen Ramonda. And this part was a little, not that it took me out of it, but I just thought it was interesting that Queen Ramonda has just met this girl Riri and is the one that's kind of in charge of protecting her.
Yeah.
I thought was a little interesting. Just not because she wouldn't do that, but just because of convenience.
Yeah, it was telling
there
without showing for sure. Like, it was like, because maybe there could have been a conversation where Queen Ramonda understands how this girl's intelligence is going to be necessary, but they don't show that. Essentially, you just met her, and then now you're like, I'm going to protect you from this thing that's going to murder pretty much my whole thing. Like, but why? Aside from like a motherly situation, but at the same time, like you just met this girl, dude. Like,
Yeah. The only thing I can think of that would relate back to something we've already seen in the MCU is kind of the Cap idea of like we don't trade lives.
oh, okay.
Because
that works.
because they basically sacrifice all these soldiers and Wakandan warriors in Infinity War just to protect Vision. Like they were like, because if they were like, we're just rip it out of Vision's head, we can kill him and we'll be able to destroy the stone and then it's done. But maybe that is now part of their culture too. It's where it's like we don't trade lives. So, but anyways, that's just my one thing that I could think would give reason to that decision. But we get to see more of the water bombs, and holy shit, I was like, there's no way they're gonna kill Queen Ramonda after all the loss we've already had, and after everything that Shuri's already suffered. Like, there's no way they can kill her. And who comes back into the room? Was it Shuri? She comes back, she sees Riri. Oh, they put the Okoye beads on her chest, right? And they're doing it to Ramonda, and she's just not.
Yeah, she died saving Riri.
So I mean, it was cool because in a way, if we're following Riri's story arc, like Tony Stark's, that one guy sacrificed his life to allow Tony Stark to leave the cave.
True.
So in a way, like that's Riri's, her origin story is kind of following Tony Stark's in a lot of ways. But it just tore me up again. It was like, how are they gonna? These people have lost so much, and Queen Ramonda just gets Shuri back, and she dies. Like, I don't. That was hard. That was hard for me.
And then they do the same thing again with the ceremony and like the casket, which I guess caskets felt a little bit more Egyptian-y with the headdress and the sidewards head.
Right. Which is kind of accurate, right? I mean, Egypt is a part of Africa, so there is some connection there. But we get to see, and it's just so much loss, and we get that great conversation, right? They do the same ceremony, but this time it seems like Shuri's so much more hollow. There's not the. She's just broken. There's no more emotion. There's no more tears to be cried. There's no more emotion to pour out. It's like, I'm numb now. Yeah. And we get that great conversation between her and M'Baku, where I'm trying to remember the specifics, but he kind of becomes like the surrogate big brother to her.
Well, he had M'Baku had promised, I had promised your brother that I would be there for you, and then I would be your mentor or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And he does kind of fall into that role, just listening to Shuri, but he's also seeing her pain and trying to empathize. And then he asks like really great questions, as in I don't remember the specifics, but essentially like what is it that you want to do moving forward? And Shuri is like, I need to fix this, but I don't know how yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And I need to kill him, right?
Yeah. I think that's a future conversation.
Right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I was just gonna say like it is. I like that scene because it sets up later for like when you see where M'Baku like gets to, you see like he's gonna be good at his next like position because like he's Chadwick or T'Challa was the ruler and the Black Panther, but now it's like M'Baku is like he's still going to the Black Panther for like
and he
checking in and stuff.
Yeah, right. Like, let's just correct me if I'm wrong, but like he can also be a good leader because he's discerning, and he can kind of look at things in a more practical way without the emotion tied to it. So he's kind of starting to show he's a good leader. Is that what you're?
Yeah, exactly. That.
He also he shows that he's a good leader in the sense when they're having that little powwow inside of his main quarters, because they had to bring everybody out from the city into his lands, and he's talking to all of the other leaders, and he's like, should we kill Namor based off of what he's done? I don't want to start a war.
Right. Yes. Yeah, we get to see it there, you're right. And then we get to see it even after, right? So Shuri realizes that she can synthesize the plant, or like from the bracelet, right? Some part of that, like there's some light bulb that clicks in her, and she's like, oh, I can use this. And then she takes the herb, she's able to synthesize it, and she goes into her own trans-like state that we saw T'Challa do in Black Panther a couple times, and that we saw Killmonger do. And this part was just, man, I was shook. I wasn't expecting this cameo, but she's in the throne room and she's behind the chair, and as she's walking up to it and starts to turn the corner in front of it, you see that Killmonger is sitting there.
Yeah, and he's wearing a dope ass sweater, dude. He always wears dope ass sweaters.
His clothes is always, man, all of his Killmonger suits and everything, even the Vegeta vest in Black Panther 1 was so fucking sick. I was like, I want that thing. But yeah, and he just swag, and just he is that character, like he is Killmonger.
Kind of laughed the way he is. Like he was like, do you want to be like, are you gonna be honorable like your brother? Or are you gonna take care of business like me? Like I thought he was gonna use a different phrasing or something, but it felt like less epic the way he just.
Oh really?
I'm like, all right.
I didn't see that at all. For me, like maybe it's because from like I said, the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, whatever they do is golden to me. But yeah. I like in my head, he was like, are you gonna get shit done like me? Was like instantly where my mind went. Yeah. Which is funny in a sense when you're like talking about like this royalty and somebody from like the streets of Oakland, and what would that world look like? And there is like a disconnect, right? It would be like if somebody from the streets of England like had dinner with the Queen, like that conversation would be a little off in a way, but it's supposed to be like that, right? And
that's right. He's from the streets of Oakland.
Yeah, but I was just not expecting him. I didn't expect
to see him either. Actually.
Right, like for him to be the one that Shuri sees in this time of her accepting this greatness, right? Like T'Challa sees his ancestors, his dad, his grandparents, the Black Panthers before him. Killmonger sees his dad in Oakland in the house, and Shuri sees Killmonger, and it was like, what? But yeah, then you start seeing the room burn, kind of like Killmonger burned all of the heart-shaped herb, in Black Panther 1, and you start saying like, oh, her motivation is purely rage here. Yeah. It's not noble. It's not to connect her to the past, her ancestors. It's not to protect her country. It's purely because I want revenge. And we see, and then right before a certain sentence or something gets answered, he was like, tell me what it is. I think she wakes up and it's like, boom, she's back to her world, back to reality. And
she's like, it didn't work because she didn't want to tell anyone she saw Killmonger.
Right. Yeah.
And then she punches that suit and it goes flying, and it's like, oh, I guess it did work.
Right.
Like,
that part was dope.
Crazy.
Because that was also like a callback to Black Panther 1 with T'Challa punching the suit as well. But it was just like, holy shit. But I was like torn at this point. I'm like, what does this mean? I'm like, is she evil now? Or does she, she has these powers, but she wants to kill? Like, what does this mean? And how is this going to turn this around in what felt like, okay, there should only be 30 minutes left in this movie. We know we're getting the big battle on the boat, but how do we turn this around to where there's like a satisfying end for her? Right.
Yeah.
And up until that moment, I still was like, who's going to become Black Panther? Like when she was like, it didn't work. I'm like, does Nakia jump on the table and take it? And then does she become the Black Panther? I was like, I didn't know at this point.
Yeah, there's so many questions. Like, I was like, can they all just take it? Like, could she just synthesize more and like start jamming them out?
Everybody
like
could be a Black Panther.
The Talokan. Or also later she ends up seeing her mom too, right? Like when she has that change in the battle, like was that back at the plains again? Like did she have like a real second of like now someone else reached out to her, or was it just her like, if my mom were here, this is what she'd be telling me? I was wondering that one.
No, 100%. Before we get there, because I think that part was placed so well there because it shows the shift in her mindset. But before we get there, right, they decide that the way of stopping Namor is to basically like dry him out, suck out the water, and then go from there, right? So they create, well, I didn't know what they were going to create, but we knew that somehow he was going to get trapped in something. I didn't know if it was going to be in the boat or something, right? Yeah. We also get to see the Midnight Angel suit, which is right out of the comics. This elite group of the Dora Milaje that goes on like these missions, but that Okoye had teased in the beginning of the movie, and now we get to see like, hey, I still like my mom demoted you, but I need you here now. But anyways, before that, Shuri drops down where there's a meeting in the Jabari tribe area, whatever you want to call it, and she drops down right in the middle into the snow in like the new Black Panther suit, which looks absolutely fire. Like it's a little bit of T'Challa, but there's a little Killmonger in it with the gold. And she kind of shows, hey, I'm the new Black Panther, and this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna go about, like killing them. And they devise that. And again, M'Baku shows even more leadership, where he's like, they view him as a god. If you start this or you do this, like we might be in a war forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you think we just live up here? We read books too.
right.
Yeah. Basically, if you kill a god, then they're never gonna stop.
They're never gonna stop.
Like you have to have the god convince them to stop.
Right. Yeah. And all that is, and just another great, just like the dialogue in this movie just continues to be amazing. It was cool. Then we get to see this Wakanda naval ship pop out from the depths, which was so cool. It was like, damn, how deep is that water?
Was that always there? Did they have that forever, that ship?
Right. And it was like a submarine boat. Like, I guess all submarines can float on the water, but it was just like this massive.
When it went above the water, it was like so big, like Titanic looking boat. Like,
right, you're like, how did they lift that thing up? But it's just the power of Wakanda and technology, I guess. Yep. But they decided to draw them out using this sound to kind of, I don't know. Did they do something to have the machine, right? She makes another machine. Riri makes another machine that lures them to the ocean.
One of them lures them to the ocean, and the other one is beneath the boat, which is essentially giving like a sonar pulse. So that bears back to essentially what happens is a lot of companies are searching for things. They're using sonar, like high penetrating sonar into the oceans, and that's killing a lot of porpoises that use echolocation and things like that. So that's a real thing that would affect sea animals, as it would most likely affect those individuals, the Talokanians.
Damn, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't.
I wish they put more of those things on that boat.
I know they should have put like 50 in all directions or some shit.
Yeah, it also made me wonder like how many boats. And that was the only thing where I'm like, was this the smartest plan? But I just thought it wasn't. But but I think about it, why was it not why would she do this plan when she's arguably one of the smartest people on the planet? Why would she create this plan? And the thing is, she's so blinded by her rage. I think you could explain it with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So they lure him on the ship, and she is in her full Black Panther suit, and this all-out battle breaks, which is so fucking sick. Like the gauntlet she's wearing and the way she maneuvers around the boat to like take out the Talakan warriors and stuff was all so
even
sick.
Like the way like they climbing the side of the ship, the Talakan warriors, and then the the mountain tribe are like holding the other warriors, and they're running down the side of the ship. Right. Oh, this is like Lord of the Rings shit. Like in Marvel, this is so cool.
Yeah, it was super cool.
And then we get Riri.
Oh, yep. Then we get Riri's like Mark II suit.
Yeah.
And what'd you guys think about the suit?
You know, I looked
really
at the
round.
comic, and in the comic it looks, I guess, like it's not my favorite. But then it's weird, like seeing it on screen.
That's how you really feel.
I was like, seeing it on screen, it looked too like Big Hero 6 or anime.
It was too round,
and I just didn't. I don't think I liked it as much. Not to say like I don't like the character or anything, but I was like, I wish it. To me, it looked cooler.
The suit could have looked cooler for sure. Yeah.
It just looked really out of place. It felt like a Japanese animation met
that's
Marvel
true.
Or something.
Yeah, maybe it was. You're right, Drake, because of those round shapes and stuff. Like I don't know if it.
Well,
it looked.
Riri's face is sharp.
Yeah, the eyes are like really slim.
Yeah.
And then the chest part too. Like I guess I'm so used to seeing like anything Iron Man like some big whatever, but it was like stretched out across the chest, and then it was like roundy, and then I think the colors too, like everything just felt like not really it felt almost plasticky. I don't know what it was. It was too shiny and stuff. It felt too like too friendly to approach.
Right. Like I agree with you. It felt a little bit more plastic looking rather than metallic like Iron Man suit is.
No, yeah.
Where his suit's definitely like it looks metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This one was like, oh, this is plastic plating on vibranium. What's going on here?
Yeah.
But
like those car custom things you can throw on, like those plastic
like
things you just throw on your front. Like those wraps, or even like the bumpers that just come out and make it look like a low rider when it's not. Like those
a body kit.
Body kit. Yes. Okay, thank you. It looked like a body kit on maybe her Iron Man armor.
Going in on
That's
it.
what it kind of looked like.
It was like a ricer. It was a ricer version of.
It was Fast and
I said Big Hero
Furious
6.
1.
Yeah.
But and then we go to like Shuri. Well, okay. Next thing we see the Midnight Angels. They also have the heads up display, which was cool. Those look kind of aquatic too, but alien like. I wasn't sure about those suits either, but I like the whole premise of them.
They felt like Guillermo del Toro Hellboy.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
Abraham or something like that. Something like that was the name of that creature, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it looked kind of but it's weird. Like the whole suit is really opposite to what they have, right? Because they have a cape too. I know they have the long dreads where I'm like, the warriors don't have hair. So like I don't know how that affects their battle. Like there's a bunch of stuff added to the suit where they fly and stuff, and I'm like, the warriors are already cool. Have they trained in like flight and all this stuff? Like just because it does more, does it necessarily make them better? Like are they trained enough yet to use it in the way they could? You know what I mean? I was like, I get it, but I don't know.
But it made you think.
It made me think.
Made you think. Yeah, definitely. So they trap Namor in the ship, or Shuri traps in the ship, starts turning on like the heat lamps basically, and I'm like, okay, tight. This is fair. Like I can see why. Yeah, turning him into some fish jerky, and it makes sense. And like she's able to like do some damage, and he just starts going apeshit in there. And I was like, what was the plan after this? But
because he sticks his spear right through the ship.
I know,
like,
yeah.
Right.
Did you think he might do that?
He just starts destroying the shit out of it, and they crash land on the island or on the beach.
Yeah.
And it ends up being like a kind of a cool, fair fight. You know, and I was like, man, does he regain strength just being like that close to the water? But it was enough to like zap it out of him for a while. And they're having this really cool battle. Yeah, fill in anywhere where like I'm dropping the ball.
Well, he also gets nicked in his wing too. Yeah, and that affects him.
Yeah.
Oh, does she tear off his foot wing there?
I don't think it got fully torn, but it got cut.
She like rips.
It affected
a
his
piece of it off.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that looks so sore too. I was like, I can't imagine. That's like been a part of him for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And she just like ripped off a chunk of it. I was like,
his reaction was like, "Oh my god, are you fucking serious right now?"
Really? Was that what you? Okay.
That's what I thought when
with
his face.
Man,
I don't
was
remember his
imagining
face,
him
but that's
screaming.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was like, yeah.
Yeah. Like I was imagining some anime like scream like ah, but maybe that's what I was feeling on the inside.
Yeah.
But they had this epic battle, and like they're both trading blows, and then he just starts like rocking her, like he just literally just destroying her, and it leads to her stabbing him, or he stabs her to the rock. And I was like, holy shit, that surprised me too. It caught me off guard. I was not expecting. I just expected her to have like kind of an easy win here, and yeah, I was like, holy shit, this isn't done. I'm like, how did she get out of this? You know, and she snaps off the spear. And as he's like stumbling back to the water, she jumps over him, which I thought was, oh, okay, that's a little dramatic. But later on, you see why. And basically uses the jet to explode him, like his back. And yeah, has a moment of being able to kill him. And this, you know, she could get her revenge for killing, you know, her mom.
Yeah. But instead she says, we need to find a peaceful solution to our problems. If you yield, let's do that. And then you're totally right. And I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where at this moment, rather than hearing Killmonger in her rage, she hears her mom, right? Yes.
Yeah, and I think that was such an amazing way to kind of do it and bring it full circle, and also showing that mercy is what T'Challa did to, I don't know if it was M'Baku or Killmonger, but I mean he definitely shows mercy to M'Baku, but it was kind of her reflecting her brother and mom at the same time.
Mercy he showed to Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's right. It was mercy to Zemo.
Oh yes, Zemo. And Zemo, yeah.
To Zemo, that's right. Yeah, you're totally right. So I just loved it. I loved it because it was at that moment where she could have lost it all and let rage fully consume her. She invokes, you know, the lesson she learned from her brother, and heard her mom's voice at this moment, and it was super inspiring. I just thought that was super well done. And I know it was like at some point I was kind of like, but it makes sense within the story that they would both want to go back and show their people that, hey, you know, we found a middle ground here, and that, we were fighting, but we could still make peace. And it was, I loved it. I thought it was a very satisfying end to that fight, as cool as like some of that stuff was.
And then they fly straight to the ship, right? And then there's somehow they both look real good for after being in a battle where he was super dehydrated and she got stabbed in the stomach. And then he's like, "Oh, let's go home, dudes." And then everybody's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And then it kind of like dissolves from there. It's pretty.
She has her beads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She has her beads.
Yeah, but also like once she pulls herself off of the spear, it instantly, like the suit instantly heals up. You can see it instantly like close up, right?
Yeah, I was wondering though, does it just close up around her wound, or like does it kind of heal her too?
Maybe.
Or does her Black Panther, does she get accelerated healing and stuff?
Yes, she does get accelerated healing.
Okay, so that's.
And the other thing too, remember, like in the first movie, Everett Ross gets shot, right, and T'Challa puts a Camellia bead in his wound, and then he's up the next day and he's like, I don't get it. He's like, you don't fully heal up after getting shot the next day. And she's like, you do here, like in Wakanda. So obviously there's like healing properties to vibranium as well, along with her like expedited healing from being Black Panther. So I was like, all right, cool. Like that was enough for me
true.
to be like, I got it.
Yeah.
But then we're brought back to Wakanda, and Riri comes in, or Shuri is walking, and she kind of has that moment like Chadwick, where he's walking through the hallways and everybody is giving him the Wakanda salute. And, she walks up and she greets Riri like T'Challa greeted Shuri in the first movie. So I thought that was super cool. And she has like remade the car that Riri's dad's car. And it looks even better than, what's that?
They'll probably get into all of that, her backstory in the series, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, you're totally right. Right. Yeah, we know we're still getting a series from her, and I don't know if it's going to be an origin, but there's so many places they could also take it. Maybe that series is why she's so confident. Maybe she's already fought a villain, and won. So, or who knows? Maybe it's her coming back, and now everybody knows she has an Iron Man suit or something. I don't know, but there's a million ways they could spin it. But that relationship was fantastic all the way through it. From like one genius to another genius. And just these female characters, I just thought were done so fucking well, like just throughout the whole movie. Man, Ryan Coogler's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was like a little older than us.
What?
Yeah, man, he's practically our age.
He's like 36.
Shit.
Yeah.
So we got 2 years to get together. And,
figure it the fuck out. So do you guys want to get into the post-credit scene, or do you want to talk about some of the things with Everett Ross and Val?
Oh shoot, that's something.
Cause they were married.
Right. That was a big. Let's briefly touch on that.
Okay.
Yeah, Drake, if you want to take it away on your thoughts about that whole relationship.
I think we see Everett Ross and Val together at one point in time, and we think, oh, they're co-workers because Val's the director or whatever. And then later on, when she picks him up, and she says something like overpassing, like, oh, I just want to talk to, why we divorced or something like that. And I was like, wait, what? And now you have the direct connection with Everett Ross, the U.S. in general. Then you have Val with her squad that she's building that we've seen in both Captain America and Black Widow. So that's going to come into play. So that was a really nice kind of combining of all the things coming together. And then I think didn't we see Val arrest Everett as well too? Because she knew the whole time. She was orchestrating a lot of the things, and she knew what Everett was doing behind everybody's back. Even though Everett, with great response said, they saved my life, right? Like I owe them, and rightfully so. Right. But Scott, didn't you mention at one point in time the timeline was a little off?
What would you?
No. I think in the way that we wrote it down.
Oh, okay.
The when they met up. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But speaking of like her, like, do you think she is who she is, or do you think like she might be a Skrull?
Oh shit!
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even think about that. She possibly
could be. I mean, that's deep right now.
Yeah, well, Everett Ross is in the trailer for what is that? Secret Invasion.
Oh shit!
So maybe for sure. I was more the surprising part for me was, all right, what is she in charge of? Is she, because I don't think there's SHIELD anymore, so she's in charge of SWORD. And in this movie, we find out she's in charge of the CIA, which is so like, oh, okay, it's like a real government organization, not like a comic book organization. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, that she's, so I'm like, the Thunderbolts are going to be a part of the CIA? Like that was like, I don't know. So maybe, so when you were saying that right there, I didn't think you were going to say Skrull. I thought you were going to say, was she faking even being a CIA
agent?
Like, maybe that though.
A manager.
Yeah,
like maybe she's really in charge of something secretive, but they said CIA in this movie to throw us off.
That could be it.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but I love that they tied them together because it just deepens the story. And that there's a part where she's like, Everett Ross goes, can you imagine if the U.S. had all the vibranium in the world, what they would do? And she's like, I dream about that moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, that's
relax.
Yeah, that was a little like, whoa there.
Right. So she was so good in it, and the fact that she was bugged the beads the whole time to get him was crazy. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go with her unit, and man, she's willing to throw her ex-husband in jail to get what she wants or to fulfill the program for her unit or whatever she's in charge of, if it is the CIA. But we also see M'Baku now challenge for. He goes to the ceremonial Black Panther
at the
Like
waterfall.
the leader.
You see Kamaru Usman in the background, former welterweight champion of the UFC.
Was he the background?
Yep, he was in the background.
Was he gonna challenge M'Baku?
That'd
be the only dude that could challenge him.
Yeah. But does that because isn't M'Baku, he's like silverback, I think, in the comic books, or he's like the white gorilla or something like that. So I mean, he's man ape in the comic books is what he's called.
Okay.
So he could potentially be he could challenge for it. I guess majority of it is just a callback to the original Black Panther, but I also could see him as the ruler, because they kind of were showing him as somebody who could lead, who did lead, especially through that time where they all were on the lands and the mountain lands.
That's what I figured that scene was for too, just to show like, I mean, they're gonna technically have to do that ceremony, and that just shows like he's gonna win, he's gonna rule now. Right. And then his conversation with Shuri and all that stuff showing like he's going to be a good leader. He listens to people. Mm-hmm. It's not going to just be like my decision, my way. He's going to rule right. So yeah, I'm down with it.
Yeah, I'm down with it too. I originally, when I saw it, I was like, wait, is he like standing in as Shuri's champion? But I think you guys are way more right where you're saying like he's going to step in and be the leader. And I've kind of like bought into that idea more, and I could see that happening.
Because Shuri could still do what she's doing, like advancing everything like with their technology and medical
she definitely
stuff, and like
not a leader though too, like
exactly. So I think that's even more so. It's like I don't see her wanting to challenge him, like I can still do all my Black Panther things and everything else I was doing, helping everyone the way I can. And you are a better leader, you do that, and we can work together.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really inspired choice, and I think that was another great writing decision by Ryan Coogler in this movie. That was fantastic. So let's move on. Let's get there. I think it's that time, unless you guys have anything else, but I think we're here at the post-credit scene, which holy shit! Like there was 3 points in this movie where I definitely teared up, and this is one of those movies where like tear left my eye socket. I couldn't help but watching just the grief in Shuri's face,
the relief
and exactly, relief, and it's like acceptance, and it's like understanding like it's just true loss. Like we all as humans, we have such a limited time on this earth, right? And we try to do, wow, this is going deep, but we try to just do the best we can, and you forget how fragile and how short life can be sometimes. But I just thought she acted the hell out of this moment, and yeah, you could just see it. You could see all those emotions just kind of being released from her.
And I like the because we were all wondering like if and how they were gonna include Chadwick in this movie, and the way they physically show him in it was through like memories and like good times, and like that was like the best way to honor him and the actor and the character, and then seeing her like mourn and like also kind of like heal from like the loss,
right,
with the music. Like I couldn't help but getting like, oh fuck you, Marvel, like everything was set so well. I was like, oh my god, like I'm tearing up.
Well,
and then
when that little kid was like, can you keep a secret?
Wait.
Oh, okay, go.
What's going on? Right. So we get the Kia back, right? Yeah. And she brings over the little kid, right? I already knew. It was like, oh my god, did T'Challa have a son? Did you guys see the same thing?
As soon as they show her walking up with a kid, I'm like, oh, he had a son.
I kind of didn't.
There's no way she's just chilling with the dude.
I just thought, she's really into her job, taking care of those kids. Like, I want to show you this cool kid I met. Like, okay.
She brought one of the kids from the outreach program.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I guess.
Just won't leave her alone.
Right. But then she said, she introduces him, and she says, "Oh, this is Toussaint, right?" Which I guess was a French revolutionary in Haiti that helped overthrow some of the colonizers in Haiti, which was really very just
next
all
level.
these details,
Yep.
next level writing, and
meaning to everything.
Right, and then he says, but, and she's like, well, tell him what your African name is or your Wakanda name is, and he says, oh, I'm T'Challa, and just that look on, Shuri's face after he says it, and just like, oh my gosh, like, it's not done. There was just so many emotions there because, sorry, Drake, were you trying to get at that? There was something you what were you gonna say?
I was like, can you keep a secret? And the kid said, can you keep a secret? She's like, yeah, I can keep a fucking secret. Like, what do you think, kid?
You know
and
why?
Then she's like,
Right.
my African name is T'Challa, and then he's like, I'm Prince T'Challa, King of Wakanda, and like he knows,
Wakanda.
right? And then Shuri asks, did my mom know? And then she goes, yeah, she did, and that harkens back into that moment we talked about earlier where.
Right.
To an extent, Shuri was being defiant, right? Like I'm about science, I like my culture and all these other things, but like I'm trying to advance this here. But at the end of the day, Mom was right? That's kind of a natural thing that we see. Mom was right, and maybe I should have listened a little bit more. And all this is coming together, and she has this little smirk while she's crying because she understands, like, shit, like,
and
she just realizes.
She even addressed why they weren't at the funeral, right? They're like, T'Challa didn't want us to go. He felt like it'd be too soon.
Right. It wasn't the right time.
Stuff.
And he wanted to keep him away from the pressure of royalty.
Yeah. And all that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. It was a great explanation. Yeah. And like thinking back to the part where Okoye and Nakia are talking about, like, you left, like right after Thanos came, then you left. Like, why? And she's like, I wanted to be here with you guys. She never says, like, why she wasn't. She's like, trust me, it was hard for me not to be here with you guys. I was like, damn, like, all the writing was there. Like, the signs were there. You just couldn't, like, I couldn't put it together. Like.
And, we saw little T'Challa earlier in the movie.
Oh,
like,
right.
And we didn't know. So when the mom came to visit and she was like, bonjour to the kids, like, I saw this online. Someone said that they recognized. It was like 2 girls and a boy, and then the queen's holding like the 2 girls' hands, and like the boy's following behind, and then they end up running off. But like the boy was little T'Challa.
Yeah. Wow.
So he was like
crazy. He was there the whole
time. That was like, oh, so sneaky. He was there. We saw him, and then later,
Damn, that's crazy. So so great, and it's also like it now allows another T'Challa that doesn't let us forget Chadwick Boseman, that still honors, he's still a part of the history and the heritage of the T'Challa we're getting, but also allows this T'Challa to go on and make more comic book stories for a Black Panther, right? We can get this T'Challa to marry Aurora from the X-Men, to marry Storm. We can get this T'Challa to team up with the X-Men down the line. I keep saying X-Men, but like, there's so many other different stories that we can have a T'Challa who has earned it. Sorry. I know, yeah, it was right there. All right. But who has all these crazy comic book stories that we're not able to be told with Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, but we'll be able to be told with a new one who is still a part of that history. And it's great. Like, I love that. I think that was such an inspired choice again, and it works so well with this movie, and I'm stoked that that's the direction they went.
Yeah, it gets the people behind someone else taking up the mantle now. Like, being another Black Panther, because just recasting him, would have been too much. But showing it this way, it's like, in the next movie, there may be a time skip or something. You're going to see an older guy that's going to be T'Challa again, but his son. And you're like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's great.
Well, I also thought, okay, we're in a world where, like, the X-Men aren't in the MCU yet. And I know this is probably not the only reason. There's so many great reasons why. But part of it is, like, in a world where T'Challa does marry Aurora, and that's, like, a big part of his story in the Black Panther comics. Like, if the X-Men aren't here yet, and maybe they're not going to be here for a lot of years, like, this gives a lot of time for the X-Men to show up, have their own stories, and eventually this T'Challa can marry Storm.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
Probably by the time they make that too, he'll be of age, like as an actor.
Right, and they can choose another actor. They can
that's
choose.
true,
Yeah, they could pick someone else. If they want.
Not exactly like a Chadwick Boseman, but somebody who is like a Chadwick Boseman, who embodies T'Challa, who has amazing acting ability, who devotes themselves to their work, who has the demeanor of him, the regalness. Like, it just works so
Kevin
well.
Hart. You know?
I hope they
Maybe
do
in the
Kevin.
multiverse.
Oh my god.
In the multiverse, I'll allow it.
He'd be like teen Black Panther or something.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Little Panther. But man,
Rare.
yeah. How did you guys feel about this as the final Phase 4 movie? Do you think it was a great conclusion to the end of the multiverse, or the Phase 1 of the multiverse saga? It's a confusing sentence, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the end of the beginning of the multiverse saga.
I liked it.
End of the beginning.
I think we've talked about how we felt about like how these movies sometimes felt a little disjointed, and they kind of ended up just telling their own stories. So I don't put as much pressure onto this movie as being like the button of like all of this phase.
Right.
But I felt like it did an awesome job being the sequel to Black Panther 1 with everything it had to cover. Like, it couldn't just be like, well, you know, Chadwick died, but we're just going to make it action-packed. We're just going to, like, you know, we're just going to do, like, Black Panther 2 could have just maybe been that had Chadwick been around, but, like, they had to address everything. So it had to be, like, a sad movie and, like, have all the feels and whatnot, but they knocked it out of the park in that regard. And like the introduction to Namor was like so cool. Like, I really do hope he probably will. If they do another Black Panther, he's gonna like be a part of it. It seems like that's what they're leading to. But if even if they announce like he's getting his own movie or something, or they're gonna dive into history of like Talokan or anything like that, like I'd be down. Like, what a cool way to introduce another character and not have it be like there's too much going on in the movie. Like, there was a good balance of everything. So this was not like there was little parts that were a little weird, like we talked about, but not enough to make the movie a bad movie. Like, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, can't agree with you more. Yeah, Drake, what about you?
I agree. I think in terms of like it being sort of like an end cap, sort of not like, it definitely brought everything together. It was a lot of closure. It was closure in a lot of different ways. I really kind of liked how too they set up Namor and Namora. You could feel the tension when Namora was like, why didn't you kill them? Right. Like, you let them kill our people, blah blah blah, and then he's like, oh, if we work together, they're gonna call on us again because blah blah blah. So you can kind of see like the tension there. So I assume they're going to push more into there just because of what it means to the Latino community and what it can do for the growing of the fan base as a whole. And as it pertains to how this will move further into the MCU, I think it was a great end cap. It was a great closure with kind of giving us hope for the future with Riri, with Shuri, with Val and Everett, all these other things. So I thought it was extremely well done. I think, I went into it with very little expectation, and it really blew it out of the park.
Yeah, can't agree more. Yeah, definitely. For me, you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again because, like, in a lot of ways, I don't know if it was a perfect movie, but I think given all the circumstances and what it had to go through for this movie to be made and to be as good as it was, like, what they made was perfect. Yeah. And I don't know anybody else that could have done it. You know, I mean, I guess I don't have like the widest breadth of knowledge of directors, but like what Ryan Coogler brought to the table, what the cast of the original Black Panther brought to the table, and just honored this person by who all accounts was every bit as noble and heroic as the hero he portrayed on screen, was incredible. And yeah, man, it's like, whew, I'm getting a little choked up now, but it was just so beautiful. And I think, yeah, nobody's perfect, but I think what we saw of Chadwick and the way he lived his life and the way he gave back to people and the way he never let people know about how rough, he might be feeling or how tough things are. He just tried to do the best he could and give back to people and continuously put out good work. It just, man, they did a good job of honoring that side of him. And as far as phase 4, I don't know how this represents the multiverse saga and, different variants and that kind of stuff. But I will say, yeah, I think you guys hit it on the head in that it was a perfect conclusion to phase 4. And I don't know if another movie could have done it. Like, for sure, for me anyway, there's no way Thor Love and Thunder could have done this. There's no way Multiverse of Madness could have done this. And so it was perfect. So stoked about it. Can't wait to see more of what comes up next. I know we have, right around the corner, we have Ant-Man Quantumania, which I'm super stoked about that. It's going to be a different ride, I think, than this was, but I'm looking forward to that as well. And hopefully we can all live a little bit more like Chadwick lived. I think that'd be the best way to not only honor him, but also a good way to live life. So I hope I can do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
In terms of conclusions, that was our review for Wakanda Forever. But if you like what you're hearing, stick around. Remember, just reach out. Yeah.
Follow us on the socials, everywhere at The Joystick Show. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Facebook's coming. YouTube is coming. And, yeah, you can catch us every week live on Twitch. But, we have episodes coming out weekly. So if you like this and you want to give us an early gift, we would truly be thankful in terms of Thanksgiving if you share this with one new person this week. And, let us know what you guys thought about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And, thanks for sticking with us.
Peace.
The Joystick Show.
If you like what you hear, please like, follow, and subscribe. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us on Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at JoyStickShow, Joystick Show. Or if you feel like submitting topics or asking questions to be discussed on further episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. Peace out and make it a great rest of your week.